Godzilla vs. Kong is directed by Adam Wingard. It stars Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Julian Dennison, and Kaylee Hoddle. When Godzilla goes on a rampage for reasons unknown, the government enlists help from King Kong in hopes to detain Godzilla. And there's a little bit more to the plot than that, but for spoiler-free sakes, that's all I'm going to give about the plot for Godzilla vs. King Kong. And this is the movie, this is the one that we've all been waiting for since the first Godzilla movie first came out in 2014. Bringing back Godzilla and King Kong to duke it out on the big screen for the first time since their last fight on the big screen. But with modern technology. And I'll get that stuff out of the way first off. The special effects in this movie are top notch. I was expecting a movie that both had Godzilla and King Kong in it, that the effects would have to take a hit somewhere to make Godzilla and King Kong look the best that they could be. But I didn't really find problems with the effects throughout this entire movie. I thought everything was top notch, and the scale and scope of this movie is incredible. If you can see this movie in a theater, unfortunately I cannot, but if you can, I'm a little jealous of you because this movie was definitely meant to be seen in theaters. It is huge. The scope and size that they put on this movie, you can really feel it. Even at home, you can feel how big this would feel on the big screen in a movie theater. And due to unfortunate times, I didn't get to experience that, but if you got to experience it, comment down below and let me know just how epic it really was, because at home, I could just feel what I was missing. But going on from there, like I said, the effects are top notch, and that definitely applies to Godzilla and King Kong. They look incredible. Some of the best that they've looked in the MonsterVerse for sure. King Kong looked better than he did in Kong Skull Island, but that's probably due to the fact of how much time has passed and technology has gotten better. Even on a TV at home, seeing Godzilla and King Kong come together to duke it out in this movie is a lot of fun. And you actually get Godzilla vs. King Kong, which is nice. The title delivers in this movie. And the movie does come up with a pretty decent reason why Godzilla and King Kong have to fight. It doesn't just feel like they're fighting for the sake of fighting. The story does apply reasons for why they have to bring Kong into the fight with Godzilla. Now, that is where some of my problems with the movie comes from, is with the story. The story can sometimes be a little convoluted, especially on first viewing. There's definitely a lot of characters. We jump around to a lot of different places, and a lot of different people are set up, and a lot of different people groups are established that we have to follow throughout the movie. And while you don't feel like you really get lost, I would say that you don't really feel invested within every single person and every single person group within this movie that they keep cutting back to. The movie also feels like it relies heavily on your knowledge and remembrance of what happened in Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and Kong Skull Island. Now, that's not to the movie's necessarily fault, because this is technically a sequel to both of those movies or sets of movies. But if those movies were kind of a one and done for you, like they kind of were for me, I haven't really revisited those movies in a couple years, then I would suggest maybe refreshing just a little bit before going into Godzilla vs. King Kong. Otherwise, you could find yourself feeling kind of lost in what's going on throughout the plot. But the plot isn't why you're here. You're here to see Godzilla and King Kong. And what I will say is that if you're here to see King Kong, you're going to be really satisfied. King Kong is really the focus on the movie. Not only is he kind of the main character, but they really give you a reason to feel kind of sympathetic towards Kong. But the relationship established between him and the little girl played by Kaylee Hoddle that we see in the trailer is a really heartfelt and kind of touching relationship. It's definitely where the heart of the movie comes from. And this movie does a really good service to the Kong character from Kong Skull Island and for those Kong fans out there. But if you're here to see Godzilla, you might be a little bit more disappointed. Now, I'm not going to say that Godzilla is a glorified cameo in this movie. He's definitely slightly above that, but you don't get as much Godzilla in this movie as you do with Kong. You mostly only get Godzilla when he has to face against Kong, but you don't get too much with Godzilla on his own. Whereas with Kong, I actually think Kong might be in this movie more than he was in his own Kong Skull Island. And without going into spoilers, this movie does follow a lot of the tropes that a lot of versus movies have. It does focus on a lot of human characters as opposed to the monsters that we want to see. Although, as mentioned before, that's kind of not a problem when it comes to Kong, because he's kind of a part of the human characters, not to give anything away, but he does have a role to play within the human story, so you get a lot more of Kong in that way. But if you've seen a lot of these kind of versus movies, then you know how the third acts typically go. And Godzilla vs. Kong is definitely not treading away from those kind of tropes in the third act. But the way that they handle the trope that usually happens in these third acts, I thought it was handled pretty well. It was definitely fun. Don't get me wrong, I loved all the action. I loved seeing these guys duke it out and fight each other and other things. But this movie knows exactly what it is. It knows exactly when to stop. This movie does not overstay its welcome at all. It's only like not even 2 hours long. It's just under 2 hours long. And they really just like, we're done. We know what we delivered on the Kong versus Godzilla. We know that that's what you guys wanted to see. As soon as that's done, we're out. And that's what they do. They get out of there. They definitely knew when this movie needed to just wrap up. Overall, guys, Godzilla vs. Kong is a fun action movie. I kind of put it on par with the rest of the MonsterVerse. I think it's slightly above Godzilla King of the Monsters for me personally, but it's another one of those kind of movies that like I'm probably not going to revisit all that often. It was a fun, enjoyable watch for the first time, but there's not too much that I think I'd want to go back and watch besides Godzilla and King Kong fight every once in a while, but I can always just look that up on YouTube. If you've been a fan of these MonsterVerse movies thus far, then you're definitely probably just going to be a fan of this movie as well. It's very much in line with how those movies are. If you're kind of like wishy-washy on those movies, or you kind of like don't care much about them, like I'm not a huge fan of them myself, then this movie is not going to be much different from what those movies are, and you're probably going to feel the same way after this movie is over that you did about those movies. It's a fun, huge popcorn flick that isn't without its flaws, but this is without a doubt the biggest fight of the year, and it definitely delivers on that fight. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts and opinions on Godzilla vs. Kong. Did you get a chance to check out the movie yet? Comment down below. Let me know. I want to know all your thoughts and opinions about Godzilla vs. Kong. And guys, if you like this, why don't you go on and click that like button and subscribe for more movie reviews. Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 3 comes out tomorrow, and I will definitely be having a review of that up this weekend. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on that. As always, guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. Once again, my name is Zachary Milne. Thank you for talking movies with me, and hope you have yourself a great day.